Well, that's true, 'cause you got me, baby, I got you. Hey, I got you, baby.
Hey, what's up and welcome back to Interpreting the Stars. We got TravTries here.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Trav.
I guess that's so we don't have a fight, but at least they say we're young and we don't know.
Here's a review. What's up and welcome back to Interpreting the Stars, where today I'm joined by Travis from TravTries to talk about Edge of Tomorrow. If you've never heard of TravTries before, I've left a link to his channel in my description box below. He's actually a food critic, but sometimes he talks about movies as well. Funny thing is, I almost never watch food critics, and I think Travis is the only one that I do watch because I like his personality and his attitude with what he does. Anyways, this was a collab that's been in the works for something like 3 months. He and I have discussed collabing on other movies, but we could never nail down something concrete until Live.Die.Repeat, Edge of Tomorrow. So, before we begin, Travis, thank you so much for joining me today. Time to find out if this is as strong as it was when it came out, or if it's turned feckless. Let's get cracking. This review was brought to you by the word of the day, feckless, weak, or ineffective. Edge of Tomorrow focuses on the life of Lieutenant Colonel Bill Cage as his life is forever changed when he is forced to fight in the war ravaging the planet. You see, there are several enemies that have outnumbered the military, and all seems to be lost before Cage is infected with something that forces him to live, die, and repeat, as he has just found himself in a time loop scenario. To help aid him on his daily attempts to kill the enemy before getting killed again, he enlists Rita, a mysterious woman who may just hold the key to the future of mankind. Truthfully, I'm kind of shocked that I've only ever seen this movie once. I own the thing. I have for years, but I've still only seen it once in theater. When it comes down to Tom Cruise's extensive resume, it's hard to choose a favorite, and so even some really good movies like Edge of Tomorrow can easily be lost and overlooked. This is honestly a pretty great movie, which is a ton of fun to watch. It's in part epic in its action, funny in its perfectly timed sense of humor, and clever in its use of time looping. In the past, I actually hunted down every time loop movie that I could get my hands on. You'd be surprised how many of them are out there, and how many of them just end up doing the same exact thing over and over again, trying desperately to be a Groundhog Day clone. Actually, there's a lot of Christmas time loop movies out there for whatever reason, but it always bummed me out that movies weren't ever risking it all to do something different with the subgenre. And Edge of Tomorrow is one of the few that stands out as one of the better time loop films that exists. Now, Travis doesn't even mention the time loop thing in his segment, which you'll see in a second. I think he was trying to avoid spoiling you. But truthfully, Travis, I don't like spoilers myself, but the time loop thing is more of a gimmick. Meaning it's the reason why you watch it in the first place. Instead, I'd say that the rest of the movie is filled to the brim with other things that I would consider to be a spoiler, meaning it's still hard to talk about without ruining the entire thing. For instance, I cannot talk about the enemies, I can't talk specifically about Emily Blunt's character or that much about super soldiers, all of which is really, really important to understand some key details. The good thing though is that when you watch the film, it's never in question as to what's going on. It's a very, very clear story with a perfect narrative that just so happens to be really epic and a lot of fun. Some great cinematography, uses of camera work, and obviously, with time loops, editing is incredibly important to get right. And they do. But before I get into maybe some negatives, let's hear a word from Travis.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Trav, and I'm here to review something with Interpreting the Stars. David over there, Interpreting the Stars. I would like to thank him for letting me be on here, first time on his channel, and I'm pretty excited. Edge of Tomorrow, also known as Live, Die, Repeat, Edge of Tomorrow, had a really weird marketing campaign. I remember a lot of movie talk channels and stuff talking about it when it came out in 2014, that it didn't have a good marketing, like, whatsoever. And I remember that trailer playing, I think, in front of Godzilla and other movies that year. That was a good year for movies. We had Amazing Spider-Man 2, Godzilla, and Edge of Tomorrow just kind of just went under the radar. Like, I mean, it really just didn't, like, nobody really, like, knew about it, and it just kind of was this underrated thing. Kind of wish I would have saw it in theaters, but I actually did not, and I wish that I did. I watched it at home, and you know what? I remember everyone that did see it talking about this and doing reviews online, that it's actually really, really good. And you know what? After however long since then, I think it's been since 2014 since I watched it, and I got the Blu-ray off Amazon just to literally do this review with David, but also just to own it, because it's really actually good. Like, I really, like, it still holds up, basically. Because I thought maybe it would just be like a cheesy sci-fi movie now that I remember better than it is, but no, it actually still holds up. Like, one really good aspect of this movie is Tom Cruise in this role. He just, like, he was born to play this, like, confused, like, soldier guy that's just, like, he doesn't know what's going on, and neither do you. It's like you kind of ride with his confusion along through the film, and I think that's one reason this movie really works. It works on a lot of different other levels, but it also works in the way of just, like, going along with Tom Cruise and his experience, and what it ends up being about, you kind of discover with him, making it just, like, just that fun ride. And it is a fun ride. The point in the movie where he first gets thrown into battle, there is a build-up there that I really appreciated. I really appreciated me kind of feeling nervous with him and just sort of like not knowing what's going on. What are we going to face? I remembered what these things were that they faced, but I couldn't really remember what they looked like. And so watching it again at home was really like, I'm rediscovering this film again, and it was very, very nice. And you know what? My wife actually, like, sat there and watched it with me. At first she was playing on her phone, and then she just, like, she got sucked in. So it shows, like, even she liked it. So it was one of those things, like, where we're able to just have a good time with it, along with just how good of a story it is. It really fit what I love with sci-fi, alien, monster flicks. The things that they face really, like, have a great design. The CGI could probably use a little work, but it kind of reminded me going back to, like, Transformers. But at the same time, like, the design is so different that I think it works for what it is. I won't really spoil anything like that because I want you guys to be surprised. And I'll leave it up to David, however he treats that subject. But I mean, it has been a movie since 2014, so it's kind of like, oh, you should have seen it by now. At the same time, I can understand why you may haven't, and that's why it's a highly recommend for me. And you know what? I'm just going to throw it back over to David from Interpreting the Stars. I'd like to thank him again for bringing me on. This was a lot of fun. And I can't wait to do more, man. And I do food reviews and stuff like that. It's totally different than the movie realm, but I am a huge movie fan, a movie buff, and I love talking about movies and connecting with other people in that way. So thank you so much for watching, guys, and talk to you later.
Thanks again to Travis for joining me in this video. Remember, I left a link to his channel in my description box below. Head over there, tell him I sent you, and subscribe to him. And anyways, let's keep going. I agree with you, man, on struggling to remember what the enemy looked like. Thinking back to the movie, I had forgotten as well. And like you said, there were times here and there where the visuals weren't always what they could have been. I think I even said as much in my original review back in 2014, which means it's even more true today. But again, like you said, it's barely a complaint. It works for the film. It works for what it was going for. I mean, if I had any sort of specific complaint, it might be that the movie was rated PG-13 and could have benefited off of an R rating, since this was war, and you're talking about a very brutal war scene without much gore at all when you really think about it. But other than that, I have nothing more negative to say. Let's go ahead and break down my final rating for a second. From a purely technical, unbiased perspective, I have to say that the film does a lot right in terms of planning out a memorable time loop film, and Tom Cruise fits really well into this kind of movie. But when you get nitpicky like me, you'll notice that apart from Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt, none of those little side characters had that much importance, and if we're being even more honest with ourselves, one of the biggest problems with time loop films in general is the fact that repercussions don't really exist. Make a mistake, no problem, let's just kill ourselves and start over. In certain respects, it's fun, but when you start thinking about it more and more, you realize that it's a little bit unrealistic. This score is 80%, and when it comes down to my bias score or how entertained I was while watching, I think that's mostly where this film thrives. I was constantly engaged and loving every second of the movie, whether or not it had issues with character development, which it sometimes does, with certain visuals or whatever. This score is 94%. When we combine the two scores together, we come to the final rating of 87%. 87 out of 100 possible stars, or a B+ letter grade. If you guys have seen this movie, let me know your thoughts on it in the comments section down below. As for YouTube, you guys know what to do. Hit that like, subscribe button, and bell to be notified when I come out with my next review. And until then, peace out.
Dave examines movies we just watch for fun. Davey is the expert. He is the #1 critic that I go to when I need a movie pick. Thanks for joining up with us. We think